Welcome everyone to this Skore Wednesday usual weekly drop-in session. So today we'll have a look at finding automation opportunity and specifically about more the discovery phase rather than the implementation preparation, even though we'll see that Skore allows you to do the two at the same time. But we'll focus really our conversation and the presentation on discovery. So usually in the first place, we have company operate processes, whether they are documented or not. That's not the question, but people are doing stuffs. And usually we're looking at automating processes for many, many reasons. What comes up the most often, speed and associated cost. If it's faster, we can induce that it's cheaper, especially when done manually. There's a big aspect of quality or accuracy or consistency. When a process is automated, we can have much more checks, much more validations of the data that is going through a process. And very often also the user experience. We've all had to go on a website to download a PDF, print it, fill it, scan it, and send it by email because they wanted a wet signature. But even though if it was a scanned file, we've all seen that once at least. So automating a process can really increase the user experience. On top of that, we can think about all sorts of things like having more integrations with other tools, having better reporting, having notifications. Oh, I put reporting twice. And nowadays, most tools are collaborative in one way or another, so we can all work on the same live data instead of having to send each other files through emails. So there's many, many reasons to automate processes. Very good reasons. They are good to know before you start a project, before you embark on, okay, we need to automate this. Knowing what are the actual current pain points is very good. Is it a quality problem? Is it a speed problem? Is it a user experience problem? What's the primary driver? And it's very good to have that written down somewhere before you embark to be able to assess later down the line. Okay, when you need to prioritize the features, it would be good to remember, okay, our goal was to increase, to get a better user experience, converting this PDF to an online form. This is our priority. This is what we need to focus on. Sometimes we can get lost in the details and thinking about all sorts of bells and whistles around, okay, I want to be notified by SMS. It's like, yeah, but is that the priority? No. Okay, so what are we trying to do? We're trying to align people, identify opportunities, and understand constraints. I mean, this is a very good, and manage the context is an overall wrapper. This is a very good statement to say at the beginning of a Skore workshop. What are we trying to do? We are trying to create alignments. We are trying to all be on the same page of what can be automated and what cannot be. Identifying the opportunity. There may be, depending on the profiles of the people you involve in your meeting, you may find more opportunities that you think. And understand the constraints. Very often there will be, I don't know, a system that we cannot touch, like a corporate system that we need to comply with, or an API, a corporate API, and we can have our own tool to do ABC, but it needs to be compliant or compatible with the ERP of the corporate head office, for example. So understanding the constraints. And generally speaking, I'm talking about managing the context. Okay, it's very rare that the process will be automated in isolation, and we need to understand everything that is around it. Okay, so it can be training. Who needs to be trained on the new process? You know, where are these people located? You know, how do we need to create training materials in different languages? We'll talk about all that. So who to involve doing these exercises? The process owner for sure, or representative, so someone with the authority. The process owner, I see that as really one person with the mean to finance, to fund the changes that will happen. Okay, there's no point in embarking in even identifying what can be automated if there won't be any budget to do so. All right, so the process owner is the person that will fund the resources to get that done, and will probably be the one approving the change of the new process, because once a process is automated, inevitably it will change in one way or another. The business team, so all the people actually involved in the process, is a good idea to involve, obviously. And then the product owner, so who will lead the implementation of this system, someone to involve very, very early on. Someone that will make it happen. And if you can, not necessarily at the first workshop, but very early on as well, the technical team, because they will come up with ideas, they will come up with solutions, they will come up with other constraints and other projects they are doing. But also very often the technical team can be your bottleneck, depending on your development model or how you work in your company. They can be the bottleneck. So also the earlier they can be engaged, the earlier you can fit in their schedule, because if it's a central business unit or a central shared services in a big corporate, well, they have a backlog of work from every businesses in the organization, and you need to fit in. So the more you involve them earlier, from my experience, the easier it is for them to prioritize and to have confidence that they will not waste time with your projects rather than another. Let's do the how. We'll do that together, but very simple. We map the process. Skore, everything in Skore starts with mapping the process. We do believe this is the entry point to solving most issues. We'll have a quickly talk about your process or the vendor process. Then a feasibility assessment, capturing a bit more requirements, creating a business case, and prioritizing. Okay, let's go. So as an example, I will use the same process I always use in this drop-in session, which is a process which is a process to define labels. So imagine you have a new items that you want to put on the market in different countries, and they need to have all sorts of texts on it, maybe even an instruction manual, notices, some legal text, some marketing text. This is the best of X as seen on TV, or this is a new product, and maybe legal text like this is conformity with whatever regulations. So this is a process about getting these texts in English, getting them translated, approving the translations, and it's ready for publishing. So very simple process, and we'll go on. So here, what we want to improve is if I go back to my initial questions, we want to increase the quality, accuracy, and consistency by having everything in a single system. Today, everything is done in Excel, but also the user experience, because imagine we are working in most European countries. That means 17 languages. The translation is done 17 times by 17 main European languages. So we want more consistency. We want a single tool. The first thing we can do is adding what are the systems that are done today that we are using today as a legacy that we want to replace. It's always a good thing to know where we are starting from. And it may be surprising when people say, all right, we actually use Excel, but here I'm putting that into PowerPoint because the regulatory manager wants to see everything in PowerPoint. So let's also put that PowerPoint. No, we didn't have it yet. Did I put it Excel? So Excel and typo. Excel and PowerPoint. The translation is done in Excel as well, for the lack of a better tool. That's what the company is using today. I will carry this typo all the way. And the approval of translation, actually, it's done in Outlook. Okay, there's no traceability whatsoever of the approval. They are just sending the Excel file. They are sending the Excel file, and they say, okay, so not really, the traceability is not really great here. So this is where we are starting from. We have loads of tools, and we can imagine already all the manual work to reconcile the Excel files and sending them to the publication team. Okay, now the topic of today is about identifying automation opportunity. So it's a very simple process, and I will run a simplified version of the process that you can make your own later. So what I did, there's a couple of ways. We can use the custom fields are very good, and I keep talking that they are always the entry points. But for today's session, I will use an advanced form. So I created my form that I called automation assessment. So in the admin menu, I created my form with my own fields. And this is a form that asks a couple of questions, and they are more to trigger a conversation with the stakeholders, with people in your team, to understand and then to evaluate how feasible it is to automate that. So how standardized are the inputs? The new design mockups, they are done by a design agency. Actually, it's quite very standardized. We don't need any paper. How would you describe the decision-making process? it's somewhat standardized. Okay, even though it's an Excel file, over time we managed to find a way to work that's okay for us. Would the removal of the human element affect the customer experience? Basically here, what I understand from this box is they take all the designs, they put them in an Excel file. So yeah, it still needs to be put by a human, so we are unsure. Maybe the machine can do a bit, but still something that needs to be formatted and done properly. So then at the end, I'm giving it an automating score, and it will be with prep work. Okay, with prep work we can automate that. So that's my score that I can keep for further down the line. Let's do another box for the sake of the example. Review and approve the label, the text in English. So add automation assessment. None of the questions are mandatory, but again, they are more to trigger a conversation rather than actually documented box by box every single thing. So let's say it's very standardized. We don't need any paper. Reviewing and approving, we could automate that. Basically, we could have a system that does most of it. So yes, it's feasible. So let me confirm, and I have my first feasible activity. As you see, my box became green. So the border of my box became green. So here, what I've used is a style rule in Skore. So based on different constraints, I can decide to apply a different style to my box. So here, because this box is automatable now, it became green. So it highlights on the screen that this box is automatable. So at this stage, imagine running that through the whole process. I can have a good idea of what are the boxes that are automatable or not. What I can also do is on the one that I think are feasible or almost feasible, I can also capture a new system. So let's say we have Label Plus. Let's say Label Plus is our system where all these things will take place. So the two legacy systems, Excel and PowerPoint, will be replaced by Label Plus, which is my new system. Translation, so to keep my story going, translation will also be done in Label Plus, and the approved translation as well. We decided as part of the workshop with the team the translation issue to keep that out of scope at the moment. At the time of implementation, we will see, but at the moment, this is not the core process. So now what I see is that I have a process where I've identified my automations opportunity by having a conversation with the team. My conversation was based on the human involvement and the standardization of the inputs, but this form can be tailored to your own needs. Okay, it can be for different contexts, it can be different type of questions. The whole idea is to get people talking about how do they do the work today. Obviously, it's done in an Excel file, so that means very flexible. Do they have their own little way? Okay, I'm highlighting the cells in yellow when this is text that we don't translate because we leave it in English, even if the official language of the country is another one, or etc. They may have their own ways of working. Their own subtlety that they agreed between each other, and you want to capture all that because when we automate, usually we will standardize and have one way for everyone to do the same way. Now here I have this Label Plus. So I just made up the name of an application. What happens in real life is that you will probably take a vendor. So someone will come in and pitch for their solution to manage translations and approvals of text to put on packaging, and they will have their way to do. And this is why I think having your own documented process, that what you want, is very good to have a good and sound conversation with the vendor, saying, all right, this is how we work today. Show me your process. Show me how this works. How does the workflow works in your tool? And then we can probably meet in the middle. Very likely your process is based on Excel and email, so it works one way. Their process from the vendor will be 100% on screen, automated, so it will work another way. And the idea is that you can meet in the middle. So understanding the customization that is available from the vendor, and also is it worth what is worth changing on your own internally to make it work better, with their tools. So typically, the case I came up with very often, when you work in a tool, you need at some point to create a project, right? To create an instance of okay, we have a new bottle of water. We want to redesign the packaging labels. We need to create a new project, rebranding to 2023. So, and then in this project, you will have to define permissions. Okay, so the vendor will come up with a lot of questions. So it's very good that you have your own processes, saying, right, you need to create a new project, you need to set up permissions, you need to invite people. Here, you already know who you need to invite and who you will need to train. So let's say the vendor comes up with Label Plus. I will go in the business tools, systems. Okay, so I will click on Label Plus. Okay, so now on Label Plus, I'm on the system manager. By the way, we did a release this morning that really fixes the performance issue we had in all the business tools. So they are now 1 million times faster, all of them. So here I'm on the Label Plus system. I can see, all right, there's 4 different users. Let's have a look. If I'm implementing the system, I need to train the regulatory manager, the local head of marketing, local head of regulatory, and the marketing manager. So these are the 4 people involved in using the system. So it gives me a very good insight, very good information in terms of aligning people, making sure that they're happy with the new process. Then you can go in the details of who will create the project in the platform, etc. Okay. Yeah, what you also see here, I will just change slightly my process just for the sake of the example. Let's say there's another box, import in printing system or publishing import in CMS, okay, content management system, and they have a system content management system plus to keep the same idea. We don't care if it's new or legacy, it doesn't matter for what I wanted to show you. I'm going back into my system, I'm going back into Label Plus. I see CMS Plus arriving. Here in the receiver, I see, am I on Label Plus? In the receiver, I will see, it will come up. I will see CRM. So the CRM has a system that is used on the next activity. Okay, and this can be interesting to see these providers and receivers to understand what are the integration needs, because ideally this step between the approval of the translation and the import in the CMS could also be automated. Why not do an assessment on this opportunity to save time? Okay, so earlier we said, so the discovery phase is about aligning people. So you map your processes, you understand the role, the people involved. If you involve the product owner, the technical team, you can have a great alignment on what's possible, maybe the vendor as well. Understand the constraints. Maybe the integration with the CMS Plus is very important. It's a legacy system or a corporate system or corporate regulations that needs to be complied with. And identifying all the opportunities. Where can your process be automated fully? Where do we still need user inputs? Or where, okay, it's not worth automating, at least in a version 1 of our system. So that's for the discovery phase. At this stage, you can decide also to maybe outside of Skore, but taking this data, taking these things, saying, all right, how many translation projects are we doing per month? How long they take today? How long do we expect to take in the system? Skore can help pulling all these numbers using the Quantify module. I invite you to look at Craig's. It was 2 weeks ago, I think he did a masterclass on the Quantify module. And to prioritize, to do your business case to get funding. Essentially, that's what we want, funding to automate these processes. In terms of implementation preparation, quick, that's not the topic of the day fully, but what will happen in a workshop typically is you will start talking about all these things. You will start getting ideas, and you're doing your automation assessment. But at the same time, people will say, "All right, I worked with this other business unit." So we said it was a bottle of water today, but I spoke with the business unit doing chocolate box, and they are using this system, or they have automatic notification when the translation is ready. Where today, for us, it's manual. We need to look at our emails. So very easily in Skore, and this is again where we can, for a simple version, use the custom field, or more advanced, we can create a full-fledged form. But let's say business requirements could have notification. Again, grouping can be customized to different things. Notification of translators every 2 days until done, for example. With a pending notification of translator with pending translations every 2 days until done. So we can capture business requirement as we talk. And I think this is where we come back to one of the main benefits of Skore in a workshop, is that you can capture any sorts of information while people are talking. So, you're facilitating, you're the business analyst, you're mapping that with the customers, with the users. And while they talk, it would be great to have notification. It would be great to have a report of the progress. It would be great to integrate with the CRM. You can capture all that into the custom fields, and then using the business tools, the analytics or the reporting feature, you can very easily get everything out of the system for further analysis. Okay, I hope you learned something. So we're gonna close here.